a jungle. Little bird. It's my daughter's room. Sorry.
That's all right. All right. So thanks everybody for coming on. This is actually our 58th read on. Woohoo! We're almost to 60. Sorry for being a little bit late, but we're good. And now we're missing another author. He disappeared. Let me go invite him back on here. Okay, so tonight we have authors Vivi Barnes of Olivia Twisted.
Hi.
You move the book I'm actually reading out of the way. We've also got, we've got Tim Shoemaker, author of the Code of Silence series, as well as Carey and Lorie, authors of Dune. All right, so for giveaways today, I have 2 copies of each book, except for Code of Silence. I have 2 full sets in hardback for those. Yay! And I think the only ones that are signed are Olivia Twisted. Okay, so let's start off, and we'll start with you, Vivi, since Tim is AWOL at the moment, and you can everybody can introduce themselves, and then we'll start on questions.
I'm Vivi Barnes, author of Olivia Twisted, and I actually live in Florida, and my sign is Sagittarius. I don't know what to say. My book is actually a retelling of Oliver Twist, so it's a contemporary retelling, except they are hackers instead of pickpockets. So that's me. Do I need to say more?
Nope. Carey and Lorie?
Go ahead, Carey.
Hi. Oh, you're on screen though, Lorie. I'm seeing you. Now I'm seeing Vivi.
You can always mute your mics above you if you would like, so that it doesn't flop back and forth if there's any noise.
All right. If I talk, will it pick me up?
It should.
Okay, I'm seeing a picture of you, but I'm going to talk. If you're seeing me, I'm Carey Corp. I am one half of the authors for Dune and destined for Dune. Sorry, this is my proof copy here with all these great little Post-its in it. And Dune is inspired by a Lerner and Loewe musical called Brigadoon, but you don't have to know the musical to enjoy the series. And my co-author is Lorie Langdon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lorie Langdon. I live in Dayton, Ohio, and Dune is my debut novel. And Dune is actually the first in what will be a 4-book series.
All right.
The second book comes out in September. We'll just throw that out there. Woohoo!
All right, so we're going to go ahead and just get ready for the questions. I'm not exactly sure what happened to Tim. He just disappeared. That was weird. Let's see. I'll go ahead and go invite him one more time, and hopefully he gets to come back on. Okay, so the first question is, how did you get interested in writing for this particular age group?
For me, I love young adults because everything is so new. I had read The Hunger Games, and that actually inspired me to write for young adults. It's just such an age where, you know, everything's changing and everything's brand new. You have your first everything, you know, first kiss, first love, you know, first everything that happens. And to me, that's the most change that a person goes through, so it's fascinating to me. And, you know, I remember my young adulthood quite well, you know, and my friends and everything. The things that are important to you then are not the things that are important to you now. And I don't know, I think all of us kind of some way miss those times, so it's like reconnecting with it to write young adults. So that's why I like to write it.
for me, I didn't expect to be writing young adult. In fact, you could not have paid me enough money to go back to high school. It is my own personal version of hell. But I had a neighbor who was 15 and read the Twilight series and was really struggling to find something that would captivate her after she finished that series. And I was writing for adults, and I thought, I think I want to try my hand at telling a story for teens. And so I wrote my very first YA for her, and she was my first and only reader of that YA, and moved forward to several other YA books and the new series Dune. And I just love it. Once I wrote my first YA, I was addicted. I think especially because in the teen world, the world is kind of all about the characters. In adult life, you're thinking about everybody else. You're thinking about taxes. You're thinking about if the garbage has to go out. I get way too much of that. Once I started writing teen characters, I just totally love being in that world and in that headspace.
I got interested in writing young adult novels. It was pretty specific, actually, because I saw the musical Brigadoon for the first time when I was 16 years old. And the first book I ever wrote was adult. But when Carey and I started discussing the possibility of retelling kind of our own version of Brigadoon, I wanted to tell it from the viewpoint of that is just full of emotion and angst, and everything just feels bigger than it really is. And so when we started writing Brigadoon, I knew that I wanted to write it as a young adult for teens, and then I was hooked. And I love it. I love interacting with teen readers and inspiring and encouraging them. It's fantastic.
Okay, the next question is, if you could be published by any publisher, who would it be and why?
That's interesting, because I actually, I was open to whatever publishers, of course, as we all are. I had considered all of them. I actually work for Disney in my day job, so I thought that might be a bit of a strange one if I was picked up by Hyperion, because I don't know if that's a conflict of interest. But aside from that one, I thought, it doesn't matter. To me, the editor was more important. When I got picked up by Entangled, I was very excited because I had already known about Stacey Abrams. She's fantastic. And so I was really excited to work with her. And my next book is with her as well, Paper of Plastic, that comes out in February. And she's phenomenal. She pulls everything, the best of me, out of me. So, and I have a fantastic publicist and Entangled group. They're all right behind their authors all the time. And we're distributed by Macmillan, so we're in all the bookstores and everything. It really is like the best of both worlds, a smaller publisher with the push of a bigger publisher. So I'm actually quite happy with them.
Carey, I'll go ahead and take this one because we actually had a list of publishers that we wanted to sell to. We had this top, I don't know if it was 10 or 15 publishers that we thought were going to be the ideal publishers for Dune. And the ironic thing is we didn't end up with any of them, but we ended up with a publisher that's brand new, an imprint of Zondervan HarperCollins that's mainstream for teens, but they concentrate on all their stories having a message of hope. And it was a more perfect fit for Dune than we could have possibly ever imagined. So I think that sometimes our ideal publisher ends up not being what we think it's going to be.
And I would just add to that to say that our editor totally gets our vision and supports it, and it's so wonderful to work with her and to work with Blink, and to also be one of their debut titles and debut series. They have put so much support into the series and into us as authors that we couldn't have asked for a better experience.
The next question is, what's a typical work day like for you? When and where do you write? And do you set a daily writing goal?
I don't set a daily writing goal because I would never stick to it, so I would always disappoint myself. I'm sort of a pantser. I just write whenever, whatever, hey. Um, I tend to write at night a lot. I'm not a morning person, so when my kids are in bed, which seems to be never, I try to write. I just stick it here and there. Oh, my kids. I have 3 kids, and one's 4. She's very much 4. This is her room, by the way. Why I have zebras behind me and stuff. But I love, writing at night. That seems to be when my mind is a little more awake. If I were to try to write between 3 and 5, forget it. So that's why I do it. I have my wine here, and I'm kicked back with my music. That's my thing.
I write at 5 o'clock in the morning. I roll out of bed and get my triple gigantic cup of coffee in my Dune mug, and I write from 5 until 7. And then I get little people up, and I get them dressed, and I beat them until they go to school. No, not really, but I get them to school. And then, like most writers, I go on to my day job, which pays the bills. And then I come home, and then I play around on social networking and social media sites. And then on the weekends, I try to bulk up and finish whatever chapter, whatever I'm working on during the week. That's my schedule.
I tend to be a little more structured because I don't have a day job anymore. Writing is my full-time thing. So I usually get up with my kids, get them off to school, and then I have my butt in the chair writing like every single day. I usually try to take a day just depending on like what I've got going on at the time, but I try to write in the morning because that's when I'm the most creative with my coffee, and I've got my little caffeine high going, and it's the time when I can get the most done. As far as writing goals, I tend to set up a writing goal between 500 and 1,000 words a day, and for some people that may seem really small, but I'm one of those people who edits as I go. So I'll write a paragraph, and then I go back and edit it 3 or 4 times, and then write the next paragraph. So by the time I finish those 500 to 1,000 words, they're really clean and strong. So that's kind of, I do like to have a goal because otherwise I just get on social media and play.
Hey, Lorie, you forgot the part where I call you and interrupt your morning flow on my way to work and text you about 10 times when I have breaks in my day job or a lull. So, yeah, Lorie is very, very focused because I'm constantly interrupting her.
It's true. She's like, she's at work and she can't write, but she wants to brainstorm. And I'm like, I'm trying to write. But it works. It works for us.
That's my problem. I would definitely read more if Facebook didn't exist.
Yeah.
Stay off the computers. All right. The next question is, what was one of the most surprising things you learned in creating your books?
Well, that I actually knew how to finish something. I've never finished anything in my life, so I'd start scrapbooking and wouldn't finish that, and I'd start coloring pictures where I wouldn't finish that. I don't think I finished coloring anything in my life, and here I am writing a full book. So I think that really shocked the heck out of me. I tried writing a middle grade book, and it took 11 years. So I think I kind of finished it, but this one I finished in 2 months. And that really surprised me. So, and the fact that with my editor and everything that I was able to grow so much just from editing. I didn't know that revising my book would actually make me such a stronger writer because you do something, she says, well, show what you're talking about. Don't just tell me, show. So I learned to express myself so much more by showing things rather than just saying, he looks surprised, or something. So I was surprised at how much could come out of me. I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. So that was pretty impressive for me.
Hey, Vivi, I think I've got a rug that I started when I was like 12 or 13, a wall rug that is still like half finished. I always tell people that I knew I was meant to write because A, I get up and do it, and I never thought I was a morning person until I actually started writing. And B, because I finished a book. That was a huge milestone for me as well. And after I did that for one, then I knew I could do it for others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think writing the Dune series, the thing that that really surprised me, or the biggest thing I learned on this adventure with Lorie was, what I learned. Became much more aware of myself as a writer, what my strengths and weaknesses were, and how Lorie and I could complement those in each other.
That's so true, Carey. I agree with both of you because I never finished anything, and I would start guitar lessons or tap lessons or dance lessons, and growing up I felt like all my friends had a talent and I had nothing. Like I couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And once I found writing fiction, I realized this is it. Like this is my talent. And that was what I discovered that has surprised me the most. And it's amazing and wonderful at the same time. But Carey's right too. It's like we complement each other and bring out our strengths writing together, and that's also been a great surprise.
All right. The next question is, what do you believe is more important, characters or plot?
I think it really, that's a tough one because they're both so important. Without characters, you don't have anything in a story. Without plot, you're really just kind of floundering around with great characters. So I think they're really both important. I think it depends on the type of book it is as well. If you have a genre book, like you have a high fantasy or something, then clearly plot's going to be really, really important. If it's a literary piece that's, more about the characters, then the character piece will be the most important thing. But I think you have to pay attention to both, and just give them both what they need to make that story move on. Because, again, you could have the best characters in the world, but if the plot's lagging along, then people aren't going to continue with it because it's like, especially nowadays, I think people are used to reading things really fast, so if your plot doesn't carry the characters along, then, it's not going to work. So,
yes. I guess my answer is yes. Without strong, memorable characters, a great plot becomes mediocre. And if you have amazing characters and you don't have a strong external plot, then you have the same problem. But when you have very strong, vibrant, memorable characters, and they have a fully fleshed out life of their own, they will often drive the plot in ways that you did not expect as a writer. And that just becomes so much more exciting.
That is so true. And I think one thing that I've learned is really important is conflict. And I guess that's maybe that's a plot point, but if you don't have conflict, I mean, you could have the most memorable characters, and the plot has to have that conflict, and your characters have to have something that they're striving for and something that's keeping them from achieving that. So, yeah, the answer is both.
Okay, the next question is there a book that you're really excited to read this year?
Yes, the end. There's so many of them. Wow. I mean, really.
What's like your top two?
The funny thing is, I actually have not read very many books that are not arcs from this year. From the debut authors, because I'm part of the 1-4 Kidlit group. All the debut authors, their books, we send them on a tour. So, like right now, I just read Dahlia Adler's book, Behind the Scenes, which was really amazing. And, they just keep coming. So, Beware the Wild is another one that comes out this fall that I read and I love. So it's like, I don't know, I just keep getting them and they're fantastic. I'm looking forward to Christy Farley's Gilded, the next one, Silvern, which comes out I'm looking forward to Amy Parker's Stray that comes out as well. Astray. That's the sequel to Gated, her first book. So there's a lot of sequels that I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to actually reading Allegiant by Veronica Roth because I never read it. I read the end because everybody kept giving spoilers that weren't spoilers. So I know what happens, but I still haven't read it. So I mostly am just focused on the One Poor Kidlet books this year. And eventually I'll start branching out to ones that have already been out. So
That's the story of my life. ARCs, that's all I get to read anymore.
I love it, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Bless you
Carey.
to somebody. That's a tough one. I think one of the terrible realities of becoming a somewhat successful writer is you lose time to read. And for me, I'm like several years behind. I'm working my way through my 2011 stack of books right now. I just actually read Ray Carson's series and absolutely loved it. Read it very quickly. But I feel like I'm so far behind and I'm so focused on deadlines that I am always playing catch up when it comes to books. And so I'll hear about great books that, you know, the next year I get around to picking up. The one exception to that is the writers that I know personally. I do try to pick up and read their books and support them in current time versus supporting them a year after their books come out. So one of the books I'm really excited about is Melissa Lander's Invaded, and also Jennifer McGowan's Made of Deception, I think is the title. I read the first one before it was published, Made of Secrets. Is that right, Lorie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Made of Secrets.
And I am so excited about the second book. That's a really just a really fun concept, and I love the characters. And then I just met Emery Lord a couple weeks ago and picked up Open Road Summer, but I haven't started it yet. I'm hoping to read it this year, so fingers crossed.
I know we have so many great connections. We get to meet all these wonderful authors, but I feel like I never have time to read all of the books I want to read. Mm-hmm. And one that I was really excited about this year was Ruin and Rising, which I just finished not too long ago, by Leah Bardugo, and I loved that series. That book was amazing. One that I'm really excited about this year that isn't out yet is, I can't remember the title of it. It's the third book in the Sarah J. Maas trilogy, and it actually comes out the same day as Destined for Dune, the second book in the Dune series, which is a little disappointing because she's huge. But I'm really excited to read that book, and of course Invaded, because Melissa's my bud, and I'm excited for that to come out too.
I love Melissa. She's very sweet.
I have her book signed.
Oh.
It's so interesting, like you guys have, your deadlines that you don't get to read because you're writing another book, and I have my deadlines of things I have to finish by this date because I have to post a review for it. So we're all in the same boat but at different ends of it, which is really interesting. Okay, the next question is, how did you come up with your title?
Oh, I love that one. The title, I always come up with a title first. I can't seem to write a book without coming up with a title, but I had actually watched the musical Oliver Twist a long time ago, or Oliver, and I always thought, you know what, it'd be cool to do a book where the girl is the one who's the protagonist, the main character, and then she falls in love with the Artful Dodger, because I had kind of a thing for the Artful Dodger when I was a kid, and call it Olivia Twisted instead of Oliver Twist. So that was an easy one for me. And actually, the story came from the title.
For Lorie and I, when Lorie suggested doing a retelling of Brigadoon and putting a fresh spin on it with modern day characters, girls from the Midwest, and they travel to Scotland. We started researching not only Lerner and Lowe's inspiration. Hey, Tim, hi!
Unbelievable. This has been crazy, but I think I'm back.
Welcome.
Oh, my goodness. It's been like, what? It's been 30 minutes of craziness on this end.
So the question was about titles, and I was just saying that Lorie and I started researching Lerner and Lowe's inspirations for Brigadoon and older histories and where they possibly could have gotten their concepts. And one of the things that we were looking at is in Alloway, Scotland, there is a bridge called the Brig o' Doon, literally translated the Bridge of Doon. So as we were kind of brainstorming what this village would look like, it turned into this huge, kind of larger-than-life Camelot-esque type kingdom. And we decided that the Bridge of Doon obviously leads to Doon, so that makes sense. But we didn't really think we were going to get to keep that title once the book sold, because anybody into sci-fi knows there is a very iconic book called Dune, D-U-N-E, that could be confusing. But we were hoping, since we're writing for young adult and, you know, especially girls in a younger generation, that our publisher would let us keep D-O-O-N, Dune. And they did.
I'm guessing that's the bridge that's on the cover.
Yes, it is.
That is one version of it. I think we've seen many different interpretations of that bridge. But if you actually Google or go to our website, duneseries.com, you can see pictures of the actual bridge as it exists. And part of our book takes place in Alloway, Scotland, in and around that actual bridge. And in the Poets Corner Coffee House, which actually exists, just a short walk from the bridge.
So interesting. Places you can actually go look at that are actually from the book. Right. And Tim?
Well, seeing that I just jumped in, tell me what the question was.
Did you come up with your titles?
Yes. I've got 11 books. These were the only books that they've used my titles on. Everything else they always rename, but yeah, these titles, they went with it, so that was great.
And the question that was right before this is that, are there any books that are coming out this year that you were really excited to be able to read?
No, I think not necessarily. It could be any and all, though. I was just at Anderson's bookstore yesterday and seen all these things in the young adult section, and there was just a lot of them that I would love to read. So I like to read them all.
All right. The next question is, what is the hardest part of writing for you?
Wow. Oh, it could be a lot of things. I think that the hardest thing is just fitting it all together. I don't plan it out in advance. You know, I might start with an idea or a premise. I have a couple little things there, but I don't do a lot in advance. So it's a lot of trying to fit it together later and just seeing where it's going to go. So that's, I think, the biggest struggle for me is knitting this whole thing together when I don't have a plan necessarily set up in front. I'm really letting the characters, in many respects, take it. And so I have to kind of work with that as we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm the same as Tim. You know, I don't plan everything out either. So for me, revising is the hardest part because I like to be done with the story and just move on. And then if I have to go back and fix things, I'm like, oh, really? I wish I could just make it perfect the first time and then move on because the next idea is waiting there and tempting you. But you have to keep revising and revising and rereading, and you kind of get sick of it after a while. So that's the hardest part for me.
Hey, Lorie, you want to jump in there? Because I have a feeling you're going to say the same thing that I'm going to say, so I'm curious to see if you say it.
Well, now you're going to make me change what I was going to say. I was
just say it.
I was going to say. Probably the hardest thing is for Carey and I as partners, I will clarify, is just kind of our schedules and kind of coordinating things. And, you know, maybe she's got a lot going on in her life where I have a lot of extra time, or vice versa. Maybe I've got a lot going on and she's got a lot of extra time. And so we have to coordinate our schedules to stay on track. And for me personally, I think there are days when I don't feel creative, when I don't feel like writing. And those are the hardest times for me, that I have to push through and kind of make myself get the words on the page so that I don't kind of get frozen. You know, you hear about writer's block, and that has happened to me in the past. And so if I'm in the middle of a project, I've got to just keep pushing forward and try to get at least some words on the page on those days when I just don't feel like doing it. That's probably the hardest for me. Carey, what were you going to say?
I was actually going to say that one of the most difficult things is writing with someone else. It's also the thing that's the most rewarding, and it's challenging in both positive and negative ways. We obviously have our own opinions and thoughts and egos and characters, and we have to, you know, work together for the good of the story. So one of the things that Lorie and I do that I just love is whenever we're plotting things out and we disagree on a plot point in the book, we'll throw both ideas out and keep brainstorming until we come up with something that we both love and we're excited to write. And I think readers are really going to see that, especially when they get to the third book in the series, where we completely threw out our plot and came up with something that we're both just ecstatic to bring to the page.
Yeah.
Right. The next question is, what is the best thing about being an author?
Are you asking me, Jessica, on that one?
Yep.
Okay. I'll tell you what, there's so many things that I love. I love talking to students. I love talking to kids, readers, when they've read it and they're all excited about a story and we can talk about the characters and things that are going on like it's real. Because it is real. And it's real to me and it's real to them. I love that. I love it when something comes together in a way that's so powerful that when I'm rereading it later, you know, I'm still, you know, moved to tears on something. And I think those things are just tremendously rewarding, to read it back and to talk to those who are reading it and loving it, and it's making a difference. Yeah, I love that.
You know what I love? I love with Tim, you can see when he's talking that he gets real excited about it and he starts talking faster. That's how you know that this is the right job for you, is when you are so excited about it. I'm the same way. I love talking to kids. Kids, that's my thing, going to school visits, and when you hear them, you know, asking about your book, and not just that, asking about the writing process, and they're so excited and they're interested, and I could talk all day to them, you know, that to me is the most rewarding part. I've also enjoyed getting to know other authors. I feel like it's actually a very small world a lot of times. Like, I know Melissa, and, you know, you guys know Melissa Landers, and, you know, it's just, it's all, everybody seems to know everybody. It's like 2 degrees of separation here. So I think that's really cool because you get a lot of support from the writing community. He's talking, they gets real excited about it, and he starts talking faster. That's how you know that this is the right job for you. It's when you are so excited about it.
Do you hear
I'm the same way. I love talking.
It was worth repeating.
Don't know why that happened. That was weird.
Got a little playback going on. I think for me that the thing that the best part about being a writer is when readers send me a message on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and they say, I was up till 3 in the morning reading your stupid book, or I couldn't put your book down, or I got in trouble in English class because I was reading it when I should have been reading Dickens, or I always set out to write a compelling story, and the biggest compliment is when someone says they couldn't put the book down. Then I feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And kind of on a related note, I absolutely love all the enthusiasm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr, and Lorie and I are on there a lot, and we'll, text each other, hey, did you see this post that someone put on Instagram, and did you see that tweet? And we really appreciate it. It makes this job worth every second of the effort that we put into it.
Carey, I totally agree, and I love when I know that I'm inspiring kids, teens to write, that they read our books or they talk to us at a school visit, and it actually inspires them to follow their own dreams. The other thing that I get so much out of is when a reader sends me a message. I got one not too long ago on Instagram where this girl said that she was having the hardest day of her life. It was the anniversary of her father's death. And she read Dune, and it actually made her escape and made her feel stronger and happier. And those types of messages that I get from people, that right there is why I like to write. So,
yeah.
All right. The next question is for Lorie and Carey. How did you write? How did you write your book? How did you split it up? Lorie?
We actually each write a character. I write Veronica, and Carey writes McKenna, and that is the way that we divide it initially. But then we each go over the chapters and kind of contribute our own little tweaks and things to each character so that it meshes really well. Carey, you want to add to that?
I was just going to say also, Lorie writes Jamie, and I write Duncan. And even in each other's chapters, we own our characters throughout the book. And so, when I'm writing V, I will always say, okay, Lorie, tweak it here, add something here, and we collaborate a lot. But it's also nice that we each own our characters' chapters. It makes it easier to do that first draft. And when we started writing Dune, it was actually 50% Veronica and 50% McKenna. And then through the revision process, we actually restructured the book and cut a bunch of McKenna stuff out, rewrote some of the chapters in Veronica's point of view. And so if you haven't been following us, there's all this bonus material that's happening in and around the first book that we've been releasing all summer long as we get ready for the second book.
Okay, the next question is, where are you right now? So, Tim?
Okay, well, I'm in my office in my house. I live in Rolling Meadows, Illinois.
Okay. Vivi?
My daughter's room. In Florida, Orlando, Florida.
Carey?
Yay, Orlando!
Yay, Disney World! Yay!
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, just outside of Cincinnati, and actually, rather than my office, I like to write in the living room so that I can keep an eye on the little people in my house and the puppy and the kitten and the neighbors and whatever else is going on. So I am sitting with a view out the front window into my street.
I am in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm sitting in my office, and it's actually our dining room that I just converted into my beautiful office that I'm still working on remodeling, but it's the first time I've ever had my own writing space that I could make pretty and, all about me, so it's fun.
Like where everybody is, I've been all those places because I'm from Worcester, Ohio originally. Now I live in Florida, and I've been to Chicago, so I'm like, I've been everywhere. Woohoo! Okay, what are you working on right now? Tim?
Well, I am working on a new book, middle grade, that I think is going to be a lot of fun. So, and kind of a serious issue too. So I'm taking a 8th grade new student, throwing him into a different school. He's a former homeschooler, putting him in the public school system, and so we've got all kinds of ways for conflict there. So we're starting that. He's got kind of a high sense of justice, and so when he sees some things that he really doesn't like, he's either going to keep his mouth shut and stay under the radar or open his mouth. And, of course, he's going to open his mouth.
Vivi?
I'm working on Paper Plastic, which is another contemporary young adult book that comes out in February about a girl who shoplifts from a Smart Mart, which is like Walmart, which, and she is forced to work there over the summer. So she kind of falls for her boss, who is a kid who goes to her high school. And there's a lot of conflict with her friends and, you know, just the social structure and the people that she meets at the Smart Mart. And so she learns that it's a little bit more than what she thought it would be. But that one is in February, so I'm just about at the end of revisions now.
Okay. Carey?
Lorie and I are working on the third book in the Dune series. It's a 4-book series, so we're working on wrapping up book 3, and then we'll start on book 4. Anything to add, Lorie?
Yeah, I was working on something, but it's a little top secret today, right? Like a Dune spinoff. So I guess we'll talk about that some other day.
Mm-hmm. There are top secret things in the works too, folks, that we hope to be able to talk about soon.
Sounds like.
But we're not talking about that. Sorry for the teasers.
All right, the next question is, who did the artwork for your book? Was it the first cover, and do you like it?
Well, yeah, I love the cover. I'm not sure who did it. I mean, it was the publisher that did it, and I probably should know who did the artwork on it. Sorry about that. And I loved it. Although there was
Sammy Ewan for the cover design and Think Stock for the cover photo on the back of the book.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So now, are you talking about Back Before Dark or Below the Surface there?
They're all the same. They were all done by the same person.
Yeah, they were good. So I really loved it. I was thrilled. The funny thing was, on Below the Surface, you know, as I tried to figure out who the different characters were on the hull of the boat, you know, on the bow there, I realized there were some things that really didn't fit. It was like, oh my goodness. This one's clearly Lunk, and he's got dark, shaggy hair, so I had to do some quick revising after I saw the cover, and since they couldn't change it on their end, I gave Lunk a summer buzz cut, and had to make a couple other, and I gave Cooper his growth spurt because he definitely looked too tall on the cover, so I thought, well, okay, he needs a growth spurt, it's time, so we'll do it, and so I kind of had to adapt to the cover in some ways.
Kelly, sorry, this is my daughter, Elaine. She's peeking in. Kelly York, who wrote Made of Stars, is another Entangled author, and she's also a graphic designer and amazing. She's the one that they commissioned to do my cover, and I adored it from the moment I saw it. So I think she's genius, and I got a lot of cover love from it, so she actually did the cover for Paper Plastic, too, which looks amazing, and we're going to roll that one out soon, too. So, Kelly York.
Yes.
The Dune covers were designed by Mike Heath, who is with Magnus Creative in New York, and the covers are just gorgeous. We didn't see them before they were done, but we were really fortunate, and we loved them. And on the first book, on the cover, is a very talented actress model named Shanna Grace. And we're very fortunate, Lorie and I, to know her as a result of her being on our cover, and so we've been kind of following her career.
Yes, we really were blessed to get these amazing covers, and we have custom artwork on the inside flap as well as on the cover and the back side, and we were blown away by it, really. And they did this amazing trailer that's like, it looks like a miniature like movie trailer, like a short movie trailer. So if you haven't seen that, go on YouTube and look up the Dune trailer because it's awesome.
Or you can get to it from our website, duneseries.com.
Oh, you have a trailer. I gotta check it out. I have a trailer too, Olivia Twisted trailer that Curtis Sponsor did for me. I love it. Trailers are awesome.
Oh, we'll have to check it out. Yeah.
All right, the next question is, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
Well, I guess it'd be all kinds of things, but I love being with the family. Love being with. I've got 3 little grandkids. I love being with them, and it's mostly family stuff and reading.
Yes, this is what I like to do when I'm not writing, is play with this little girl and my sons. I do have a fun day job, which is working at Disney, so we like to go out in the park and ride the rides and stuff like that for fun. But yeah, I feel like, okay, now she's jumping on the bed. I feel like there's not really too much of free time anymore, so I do try to spend it with the family whenever I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a whole lot of extra time to do fun things, but my 10-year-old has become my partner in crime for my one huge, huge passion, which is musical theater. And this is our schedule coming up for the fall, winter, and spring, and all the shows that we're going to try to get to in the Cincinnati area. So there's everything from like Sweeney Todd, Mary Poppins, Side by Side, Beauty and the Beast, Little Shop of Horrors, Into the Woods twice. Putting it together, Into the Woods the movie, Annie the movie, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, West Side Story, Les Miserables, Peter Pan, Peter and the Starcatchers, Legally Blonde, The Lion King, Disney's Aladdin, Forbidden Broadway. Oh, she's not going to Forbidden Broadway, just me. Wicked, Addams Family Assassins, The Little Mermaid, and A Christmas Story.
I actually love musicals too. I don't get to go to as many as Carey because Dayton is not the theater scene, unfortunately, that Cincinnati is. But I just saw Mary Poppins last night, and it was amazing. And I took my 2 boys with me to see it, and they are 12 and 14, and they actually loved it. But I spend a lot of time going to their sporting events, and like everybody else, I just love hanging out with my family and reading.
Right. The next question is that if you had to write a book with another author, who would it be, and what do you think the book would be about? And that you have to write a book with them.
Oh my goodness. I've never written. Oh, that's good. Well, if you want to go first, that's great. I don't know who I'd do it with. I'd do it with somebody else who would write for. You know what? I'd want to work with somebody who understood boys, because I want to always target my work to be able to get them. If I get them, I can get the girls. But you kind of got to get. You have to understand boys. So I'd want that, and I think, boy, a name.
Chris Crutcher for you.
What's that?
Chris Crutcher. He understands boys.
Well, there you go. See, I'd be open to it.
Vivi?
My friend and I started writing that middle grade that took me 11 years, and it's because of her. You know, I ended up co-authoring it with her. Her name's Peggy Jackson. Because of her is why I was able to finish it. Otherwise, like I'd said, I'd never really finished anything. So I would probably write another book with her. I mean, she's a writer too. She's not published yet, and she's looking for an agent, but I would definitely write with her. She's amazing.
If I could write with another author other than Lorie, it would be John Green, and John Green. Anything. Anything he wanted to write, I would write with John Green. I kind of love him.
I don't really have an answer to that question because I've already done the co-author thing and I love writing with Carey. But right now, I'd really love to write something by myself. And actually, I've done that a little bit, and I'm just waiting to see it fly on its own.
That's code for she's sick of me.
That is not true.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, she's muted.
I gotta like mute it and then unmute it because they let the dogs out and they were all barking and now there's the 3-year-old screaming, Nana! And I'm like, nobody needs to hear that.
And now I want to sing Who Let the Dogs Out. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what are you guys currently reading right now, if anything? And if you're not reading anything right now, what have you just finished? Tim?
Okay, well, I am reading a book by Nancy Rue, and it's really targeted at that middle grade for girls. So, hey, hate to admit that, but I have a lot of respect for Nancy, and the work I'm working on right now, it's talking about bullying. I wanted to see what she was saying on that, and so it's called So Not Okay.
And Vivi?
Okay, and I'm reading 17 First Kisses by Rachel Allen, and it's adorable. It's a very sweet contemporary book. HarperCollins, I believe. It's fantastic. I love it. And, you know, again, I read Dahlia Adler's Behind the Scene and Skylar Dorsett's The Girl Who Never Was. I just finished that, which is amazing. It's like a fantasy that with a great voice. Yes, that one right there. Dang.
She's coming on the show Wednesday. That's why I have that over here.
I love that book. Loved it. It had such a great, strong voice. It was very funny, very emotional. I just loved it. So that's what I read.
Corey? Or Carey, sorry.
That's okay. I am reading 6 Months Later by Natalie Richards, which I am really enjoying. It's I know Natalie, and it's one of those books that I've been wanting to pick up for a long time, and it's a great read. And because I usually am reading more than one book at a time, the other book I'm reading right now is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand, and it's like a World War II memoir.
I just finished Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and it's a contemporary suspense, and I actually really loved it. It's different than anything I've read in YA, and I found it really unique.
That book was really good. Hold on, out, honey. You need to go out.
I just want Mickey.
Okay, go ask Daddy.
Oh.
Go get Sissy. She'll find it for you.
You have the same issues as us, children and family.
I remember
Of
those
course.
days.
Kids are all over the place. Well, just in case anybody wants to know, I've just finished Dorothy Must Die, which was really awesome, and I'm currently reading this.
Oh,
Pretty.
Love that cover. All right. The next question is, how long did it take you to write this book or your series?
Oh boy, the book. You know, I think I was working on that close to a year. Each book takes a little bit less time, it seems. The first book in the series, I was working on that for years, and I'm not sure how many exactly, but it was years, especially with all the rewriting and all that. But this last one, I'd say, is pretty close to a year.
It was about, I say we talk about Jessica while she's gone. Mine took me 2 months to write, which was really, really short, and then like 6 months to revise because I'm a much slower reviser. About the same with paper plastic, so writing's fast, revising's slow.
An hour. I need an hour.
Definitely hear you on that one.
Carey?
Lorie. Lorie's going to answer this one.
Oh.
Because I don't remember time. I lose time.
I think it took us about 6 months to write Dune, but then we are pantsers, and the book was way long and drawn out, and we ended up revising it 7 times, like actually rewriting it 7 times. And we had 2 different agents, so we rewrote it based on agent feedback and then rewrote it based on what we wanted it to be like after our first agent. And then we got a second agent and rewrote it for her.
And that's actually
and then
where
we had to revise it for our editor.
And after we got our second agent is when we actually split the book from 50-50 with the characters to 65-35. So that was a pretty extensive rewrite. And so it took us a long time, like altogether from start to sale, like 2 years, right, Lorie?
Yeah, 2 years.
But then when our book sold, like from the sale to in market was 10 months. It was crazy short. And we had
the second book only took us, what, 9 months to write? So comparatively, it was pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. And the first one had very minimal revision, and even the second one didn't have much in the way of revision. It was those 2 years were really worth the labor to perfect our craft and our style, because everything since then has been pretty quick. You're on mute again, Jessica.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so the next question is, what kind of research and travel did you do for your book?
Well, I didn't have to do a ton of research. You know, that's one of the nice things about contemporary suspense and setting it close to where you live. But one thing below the surface was it was in Lake Geneva area, Wisconsin, and I needed a place for them to hang out where they could get things to eat and such. And so I sampled shakes in every place in town, which is. And then I decided that, you know what, shakes wasn't going to be it, because that was really that would be competing with the first two books. So I thought ice cream. So then I sampled ice cream every place. This was really gruesome, and it was intense research. And I finally settled on a place and gained 10 pounds. No, that part's not true, but that is what I call fun research. There was also things I had to do where going to some really creepy places, which paid off. There's this tunnel scene that I'd been there many years before, and I thought I knew it well enough, but I really had to go back and experience that tunnel. And I'll tell you what, it was worse than I ever remember. So it was good that I went back there.
Wow, I want to go research with Tim for the ice.
Fun.
I'm not bad with computers, but I'm not a hacker, and so I had to do a lot of research around hacking, and thankfully I had people to go to who could verify everything and validate things that I had put in the book and help me clean that part up. And thankfully everybody who says that they're computer programmers or whatever agree with the things that I've put in the book, so I'm really glad about that. The foster care system, I actually knew somebody in foster care growing up, and that's a big part of the story, is a girl who she is in the foster care system. So I did a lot of research on that and some of the problems that the foster care system, especially in Richmond, Virginia, were having. So that's very true to life as well. So a lot of it's on the internet. In fact, I'm sure I'm on some FBI list somewhere, like most authors, you know. How do you break into a bank account? And all the directions are listed online if you want to know. It's terrible. I mean, you really can learn to do anything. I busted my husband's computer, who was sitting right next to me, and he's like, "Stop it." I'm like, "Wow, I'm so good at this." But yeah, the internet has a plethora of information out there for people, so it's kind of scary.
Lorie?
For Brigadoon, actually, the Bridge of Doon, as we said, is a real location in Alloway, Scotland, and I would love to say that Carey and I had taken a trip over there and actually set foot on the Brigadoon, but that has not happened. So we had to use Google Maps satellite imaging to kind of get our bearings within the town and actually see what's on the other side of the bridge, because the photos never show that for some reason. And, you know, we did a historical research as well, and Carey's really good about explaining that, so I'll let her do that.
Thanks to the internet, we did a ton of research on historical Scotland, on the witch trials in Scotland, on Robert the Bruce and his campaign against the English, and neither Lorie nor I are like big upfront researchers. We kind of research as we go, as we need things, okay? We're doing Highland Games, and we need some activities, so then we'll do some research back and forth or that kind of thing. But we also researched Indiana, Bainbridge, Indiana, which is where Veronica is from, and Taylor, Arkansas, which is where Kenna has moved to. Although Taylor, Arkansas doesn't make the book, it does make the outtake scenes we released over the summer. So we did research for those locations, research for Chicago, where the second book starts. Lots of theater research. And that's lots of theater research. In fact, like the whole ice cream thing with Tim, me and like Broadway musicals, same thing. I just have to go see a whole bunch of shows for inspiration. It really sucks. But the other thing that we and I love theater. I think that was pretty gratuitous that I gave my character my obsession. Although we do disagree about the shows we like. Kenna and I have very different taste when it comes to shows, which is strange but entertaining. The other thing that Lorie and I did, and Lorie, I don't even know if you remember this, in the first book, the first time McKenna and V see Jamie and Duncan, they're getting ready to fight each other in the arena.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And we had a presentation with some like medieval knight reenactors who did some combat, and we had them do it over and over again, and we essentially had them help us choreograph the fight that goes on between Duncan and Jamie.
Yeah, I do remember that. That's awesome.
Okay, the next question is if you could change something about your book that's published, what would it be?
Well, I think I'd get the sales a little higher.
Oh, no, I mean like actually writing the book. Like, so is there something in the book that you would change?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm teasing. You know what? I've been pretty happy with it, which is really, really good. I think earlier writing, I've got a couple novels that will never be published, and when I look back at those, oh my goodness, all kinds of things I would change. But with this series, there's been very little or nothing that I would want to change. So I've been really happy with that.
Yeah, same here. I don't see anything in the story that I would change. I made the decisions I made, whether people agree with them or not, for a specific reason, because I was tying it into the Oliver Twist tale. So it was very painstaking to do that, but I would not change anything. And that's also why it's important to have an editor who gets your vision, because then that way, you're on the same track, and at the end when it comes out, you feel good about it, because the story it might be enhanced with the revisions you had to make with your editor, but you feel really good about the story that's out there because it's the one that you wanted to put out there. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
For me, the one thing I would change is in the second book, Destined for Doom, which comes out September 2nd, I made a huge mistake, and it's gone to print. I attributed something to Sondheim that is indeed not Sondheim, and it's a brilliant little reference, and I mess it up a lot. And I was telling a friend of mine, we had just gone to see a production of Next to Normal with Sunset Players in Cincinnati, and it was amazing. And so afterwards we were talking about the show, and I had told him this, really clever thing, this clever analogy that I had in there, and he looked at me and he's like, Carey, you do know that's not Sondheim, right? And I remembered that I knew that, and by the time I called the editor the next morning, it was too late. The book was already going to print. So it'll get changed for the second printing. But the reason I'm being cryptic is because I think I'm going to have to turn it into a contest. Like the first, Broadway nerd who busts me on this reference, Sondheim reference that actually isn't Sondheim, has got to win some sort of prize or something. So that's what I'd change.
Yeah, the only thing I would change is actually typos. I'm sure we all have them, but it just really like grates on my nerves like nails on chalkboard. And we have several in Dune, and they do get pointed out to us occasionally. So that I would change.
And it's amazing how many sets of eyes, including proofreaders, how many people read the copy before it goes to print. I mean, it's an insane number of people, and typos still sneak through. I think there are like typo gremlins who sneak into the book after it's been read and mix things up. Seriously.
Carey, I got to say that's absolutely true. That does happen, and I'll tell you what, that first edition you've got, that is going to be a collector's edition. So I think you've really got something fantastic there.
The Blown Sondheim reference edition. Yeah.
All right. The next question is, what advice would you give aspiring writers?
Oh boy, I'd say keep at it. Get to a writers' conference. They've got to get to some people and have somebody look at their work so they can help give them next steps. But keep at it. Leave their Facebook and their email alone and start writing, and just keep going with it. Not to be discouraged, because we all hit that. And it's not always the best writers, but it's the most persistent that get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything Tim said, plus don't keep yourself in a vacuum. Get out and meet other authors online or in person. They are your best support during the times that you really need it. Join, like when your book comes out, if you can, join a group of debut authors, because you're all going through every stage at the same time. And it's been huge help for me to not feel alone in this process, because there's times, with so many different things, bad reviews and good reviews, that you want to share and ask questions and everything, and contract questions and stuff, and people are there for you. So I just say get to know other authors.
Actually, I gave this advice to a writer on Instagram earlier this week, and it's a quote from Galaxy Quest. Never give up, never surrender.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, and I love that line too, because there are so many times in the writing journey, if your dream is to be a published author, regardless of which avenue you take to get published, there's so many times where you're going to want to quit. I mean, it's basically pouring your heart out and then letting the entire world ridicule and criticize and tear it down and build it up. But it's like running through the entire globe naked. Everyone has something to say about it. And one other piece of advice I would give is finish. You're not you'll never grow as a writer, you'll never accomplish your dream if you don't finish that first book or finish a project. That's a skill. I can't tell you how many people I know who start and start and start, but you're really not a writer until you finish.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys said it really well. I agree with all of that. And I think one of the other things I guess that I could add is write what's in your heart. Write the book that you know you're meant to write, that only you can write, that through your unique experiences and, through you as a person, there is a unique story within you, and you can write that. And so don't necessarily listen to the haters or listen to the market. Just write what's in your heart and finish and write every day.
And read everybody else's bad reviews. Because the books that you love, no, seriously, the books that you love the most, go read the bad reviews. Because if they get it, you're going to get it, but at least you're up there with the best of them, right?
Right.
Wow, I like that.
All right, the next question is ebook or print? Which one do you like more?
Oh, definitely print. Definitely print.
I like both for different reasons. If it's romance, I like to read ebook. It's faster for me, but I have a lot of print, and I've always loved print. So of the two, I'd probably choose print.
Yeah, I like print. I like the way books smell and the way they feel in your hand and the way you don't have to charge them to read them at night. Um, I I like the way they fit on your shelf and give you a sense of identity, and they say something about who you are as a person. My cherished series, I like to look at them. I like the pretty covers. I like to put them on the shelves. I'd seen on Twitter recently someone had done a complete shelf design based on color, and it was so pretty. And I thought, I want to rearrange my shelves, but it's, you know, they're treasures, and I like physical treasures that I can display and hold and get signed and cry over.
Who was that? I think that was Dahlia, right? Somebody did that. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Lorie?
I'm also a print book lover, and I actually joke around with people and say that instead of going to the bar when I have a stressful day, I go to the library, and it just calms me right down. Like, if I could just be among the books, among the stacks, and walk around and pick those books up, like, I feel like everything in the world's going to be okay. So I do have a Nook. I have an e-reader that I use occasionally, and it's nice to read when my husband's trying to sleep in bed and I don't have to have a light on, but I typically love print books.
Because you can't, I mean, you can get ebooks signed and stuff by the Kindle Graph, but you can't get them like this, so. All right, the next question is, when naming your characters, do you give any thought to their actual meanings?
No. I don't. I don't. Sorry, I guess I'm a guy. I don't think about what the names mean, you know, and have that cryptic thing. I do have to bounce some of them by my wife, though, because she works with young kids in Sunday school, and she loves these little kids. And so I had something where I was going to name. I won't say the name, and I was going to have this character. And her first question was, "Is he going to be good or bad?" I said, "Well, he's going to be bad." And she says, "You can't use that name because." And she gave the boy's name. He's a really sweet boy, and this and that. Well, it's a different one altogether, but no, I don't pay attention to the meaning of it. I'll have other reasons for picking a name, but and then I got to pass them, make sure it passes through my wife on some cases.
I did with Olivia Twisted because of the Oliver Twist tie-in. So I have a Nancy, I have Bill Sykes, and I have Olivia for Oliver, and the Artful Dodger's real name is the name of Z, who's the guy in my book. So for that book I did. Typically, no, it's whatever really strikes me about a character. I'll look at a bunch of baby names and pick one that is like, okay, that's my character's name. And then I can't get it out of my head. So if my editor says, okay, you have like 3 R names here, can you change one to have a different one? It's very difficult because I've already associated that name with that person. So recently I changed one from Alice to Roxanne. I'm like, it's always going to be Alice to me, even though I have Roxanne in the book now. So it's hard. It's not that I put meaning into it, but it's hard to change it once I have it.
It's like renaming your children after you've already had them.
I like to have names that have a strong meaning that tie into the characters. For Dune, there's a lot of characters that Lorie and I worked on. Like, I looked up the names, what it meant, derivatives of that name, and so we're dealing with not only is it authentically Scottish, what are the variations, but also what does the name mean? What is the implication of giving a character this name? And that's something, even in my first book, the Halo Chronicles: The Guardian, that I used a lot of Estonian names, and they also have very specific meanings to the characters. It's just something that I like. But I also like names that are relatable. and believable, and you know, I don't like weird names, so I try to find that middle ground.
Yeah, Carrie and I, like she said, we did some research on the names of our characters for Dune, and I sometimes have a little bit of a personal meaning for a character, and there is a girl that's barely in Dune. She's in the first chapter. Her name is Stephanie, and yes, that is a bully from my past. So occasionally I will have personal meetings for characters as well, and I don't usually share that, but I think that a lot of us do that. Like, don't get mad at an author, we might kill you off in a book, that type of thing.
In my first book, the cheerleaders were both fondly named after people that were awful to me.
All right, the next question is, what do you write with, and what would you never want to have to write with? I'm guessing they're talking about like utensils, pencils, ballpoint pens, computers, smoke signals.
Yeah, I always work on my laptop now. I used to write longhand on legal pads, and I would never want to go back to that again.
I'm a laptop girl too. If I were to write with a pen or a pencil, I would never write more than a page because I tend to my hand gets cramped up, and I think faster than I can write, so I end up just scrapping it, you know, so definitely a laptop.
I tend to write first draft on laptop as well, but if I am out and about, I always have a notepad, and sometimes I'll write whole scenes in my notepad that then I have to put on my laptop. I've been known to like jot scenes, work on stuff at stoplights, so, but not while I'm driving, just at stoplights.
Yeah, I work on a laptop, and spell check is my best friend because, as Carrie knows, I'm an atrocious speller. So if I didn't have my laptop, no one would ever read my work.
Yeah.
All right, and the next question is, or the last question is, how do you market your books?
Oh, well, that's a tough one. One of my favorite things is getting into the schools, actually, and talking with teachers, talking to librarians at schools, and ultimately getting to those classrooms, talking to the kids. That's my favorite way because you get that word of mouth thing going, and that's really, really, really good stuff. But I love being with the kids and just the energy of that. That's really fun.
Well, since Tim stole my answer, I'm going to give it a different one. I'm going to say, you know, the Little Caesar guy that's out on the corner with a Little Caesar pizza box? I'm standing next to him with a book on a stick saying, hey, buy my book. So that's me. No, I like talking to kids, too. In fact, a couple other authors and I are doing this YA Chicks Kickin' It, where we go to different schools in the fall and to libraries and do talk about adventures and characters and everything. So that will be exciting. But, yeah, we've tried to focus on libraries and school visits.
Okay. And Carrie?
One of my favorite things, my new addiction, is images on Instagram. Oh my gosh, I love to promote on Instagram. And Twitter and Facebook and share, especially reader art. When we get reader art, I'll post it everywhere I can. And I don't know how valuable it is, but something that I absolutely love, and I know Lorie does too, is Pinterest. We have very vibrant Pinterest boards for all things Scottish, all things fairy tale, all things Broadway, and things pertaining specifically to the Dune series. And I guess that's all more like promotional stuff. The other thing that we do is library and school visits, which I do really enjoy, and just signings. With our new book coming out, we have a lot of signings in the Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, Northern Kentucky, down to Lexington area in the next couple months. And We just did a YA festival in Pickerington, Ohio, and those are always so much fun.
I agree with everything Carey said. She kind of stole my answer because Instagram is our new favorite. And one of the reasons that we love it is because we were promoting for a long time on Facebook, and we weren't really getting that reader interaction that we were looking for. And all of a sudden, when we joined Instagram, we get a ton of interaction with teen readers. So that's really my favorite place to promote right now.
Yeah. And they take such beautiful, beautiful pictures. Edits as well as pictures of the book in different settings, and it's so inspiring to see what readers are creating with our book.
All right, and for actually the last question, nobody asked this time, but I'm going to throw it out there. Is there anything else that you would like to say to your readers or to the viewers that hasn't been asked?
Well, seeing I missed that first part, maybe it's been asked because I was struggling to try to get back on. But hey, if they're reading the books, I love it, and I love hearing from readers, and I answer them, and so I tell them to keep reading the good stuff, and I'm just glad to have them out there.
Yeah, definitely keep reading. I love hearing from people, so I'm on Twitter at Vivi Barnes. And I'm on Facebook, Vivi Barnes Author. I'm not a very good blogger. I kind of suck at it, so I blog like once every 3 months, and in that blog is mostly me promising to blog more, in which I don't. So, but I love hearing from people, so reach out.
I think the same goes for Lorie and I, that we love hearing from readers, hearing how Dune has inspired them, interacting with them. We love art. Oh my gosh, more art, please. I love, love, love reader art. It's like one of my favorite things in the world, and I don't know if you can see it where you're sitting or where I'm sitting, but I have some framed reader art behind me because it's just so beautiful, and it inspires me to continue to create this amazing, amazing world. We have a lot of signings coming up, so come and see us, or send us a message on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Check out our Pinterest pages. Oh my gosh, there's so much on Pinterest. That's like Lorie's like decompression time, is to get on Pinterest and add things to our board.
Yeah. This is true.
I
was just going to echo
you
Carey.
Can get to all. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get in there. I was just probably going to say exactly your ways to contact us on www.duneseries.com, and we love to hear from readers. So.
And we will have an updated schedule of all of our fall appearances. By the end of the weekend, we should have most of the September ones up. We're still fleshing out some of our October appearances, especially for Teen Read Week. But we'll try to have at least next month's all updated by the end of the weekend on the website. And then there'll be a lot more in October. And if you're anywhere near Cincinnati, Books by the Banks, big festival in October, or any of our other signings in the area, come out and see us. We'd love it.
All right, I've actually just popped the link onto the showcase. If you are watching this via Google+, there's a little 9-square thing above your head on the right-hand corner, and you can switch back and forth between showcase and the questions. If you're not watching this there, I'm actually going to pop the link into YouTube as well. And this will have all of the links on there for all the authors and the bios and the Rafflecopter to enter the giveaway, everything that you pretty much need, as well as buy links and everything else under the sun. Let me put it over here.
And this is my friend Erica Cameron. She wrote Sing Sweet Nightingale. She's spending the night with me tonight. So.
Hey, from the Common Authors. Always love that. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on. If any of you, when your next book comes out, before your next book comes out, if you want to come back on for your next book, just let me know. And I will.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We really appreciate you having us.
No problem. And I've got 2 copies of Dune, 2 full sets of the Code of Silence series that Zondervan just went above and beyond to send copies, as well as 2 signed copies with swag of Olivia Twisted. And if memory serves correctly, they're also sending me 2 copies of Book 2 in Dune as soon as it releases as well, to give away. So lots of stuff.
And we'd love to come back on and talk to you for the next Dune book once it comes out.
Awesome. I will send you open dates.
Thanks, Jessica. Appreciate that. And it was nice meeting all the rest of you too.
You too,
Tim.
And Lorie and Carey.
You too.
That's great.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, see you later. Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right, Jessica, we'll see you.
Bye.
All right, thanks. Sorry with whatever happened there. I'm just so glad that I was able to finally get on. So I was like, oh, man.
Well, if you decide that you want to come back and just do some quick Q&A and stuff, I have another cast at 6 o'clock every single Saturday it's called Book Babble. You're more than happy to come on there if you like.
Well, yeah, anytime. And it looks like it worked in the end. I don't know what. I finally just restarted it, and it worked. So, yeah.
It's the internet for you.
Yes. So, anyway, thanks, Jessica. You have a great evening now, and we'll talk to you later, huh?
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks again to all the authors that were on today, and the drop-in author. You can't beat that. And just so you guys know, we actually have 2 read-ons coming for next week. We have a special coming on Wednesday. It's still going to be at 4 o'clock EST. I'm going to toss the link in here. And you can find all of these events on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Crossroad Review. You have to drop that S. And you can find all the links on my website, of course, as well, which is crossroadreviews.com. This is actually with Erin Bowman and Skylar Dorsett. Vivi Barnes actually talked about this book that I think she said she just finished it. This is Skylar Dorsett. She's a debut author. This is The Girl That Never Was. This is actually the copy for the giveaway, and it is signed. We have 2 copies of that, as well as Erin Bowman will be coming on the show, and I actually have 4 copies of this book, as well as 2 copies of Book 2 to give away, and they are all signed, and I also have a whole bunch of swag, so definitely see us this coming Wednesday. I think that is the, what day is that? That is the 13th, and come and join us for that. And I just lost my link here. Okay, there it is. And definitely come and see us for that, as well as that coming Saturday. We have another special read-on, and this is an alone show. And it is from Crystal Wade, which is one of my favorite authors, and it is for her new book coming out called Charming, which this is a mystery suspense, and this copy of this is signed as well. Oh, maybe this is a finished copy. I was thinking this was an ARC. It doesn't say ARC on it. I'll have to ask her. But you can win this copy. This book doesn't come out, I think, it's either September or October. I can't remember. As well as 2 one-of-a-kind keychains will also be given out that she had made for the book. So it has little knives and stuff on it. It's really interesting. So definitely check us out. And that will be it for next week. And then the following week, we've got Christy Cook, Raleigh Bernard, and Mindy McGinnis coming on the show, and that should be great too. If you guys are interested, I've got my book babble here. Will start in 29 minutes, and today's topic is review sites. So if you are a reviewer or you're looking into being a reviewer, it's definitely something to look for, as well as all my stuff that I've gotten in the mail, and that you actually have the opportunity to come on air if you'd like for discussion. And then later tonight at 8 p.m. EST is my online book club, Not Your Normal Book Club, and we are going to be discussing Dorothy Must Die. So definitely tune in, and I hope to see you there. Bye.